Is this thing on? Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And let's talk about Kenobi and then expand that conversation to Disney Star Wars. See exclusive first look photos of Obi-Wan Kenobi by Dalton Ross of EW.com. The force is strong with EW. It's fitting that EW's final print cover before going all digital would be of someone named Ewan. It also marks Entertainment Weekly's 41st Star Wars cover when counting all split-run covers over the past 32 years, 6 of which have featured Ewan McGregor as the Jedi. EW has the full scoop on Disney Plus's Obi-Wan Kenobi, including the exclusive first episodic images showing not only the return of McGregor as Kenobi, but also as Joel Edgerton as Uncle Owen. We also have your first look at the franchise's fearsome new villain in the form of a relentless inquisitor named Raver, played by Queen Gambit's Moses Ingram. So we go on. Trouble around every corner. What kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi will we meet in Obi-Wan Kenobi? Says star Ewan McGregor, we find Obi-Wan at the beginning of our story rather broken and faithless and beaten, somewhat given up. Inquisiting minds want to know, as the force-sensitive Inquisitor Raver, Moses Ingram will prove a formidable new foe as she seeks out Jedi in hiding for the Empire. Director Deborah Chow and writer Joby Harold described the character as ruthlessly ambitious. Caving in, McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi is a master Jedi and a master of decluttering, as evidenced by his sparse dwelling on Tatooine, where he has set up shop to watch over young Luke Skywalker. On the hunt, they share a common dark side goal, Ingram says about the villainous trio of Raver and the Grand Inquisitor and Darth Vader. They're on the same team. As for what stands out most to Ingram about her big bad, it's all heart. Life in the slow lane. We all know how Obi-Wan feels about flying. This Jedi prefers to travel by more primitive means, like this Eopai, whenever possible. Making him cry, Uncle. Joe Edgerton is back as Uncle Owen, and we don't necessarily like his odds in the face-off with Raver, but as a wise smuggler once noted, never tell me the odds. Thank you, George, for casting Joel Edgerton as Uncle Owen, laughs director Deborah Chow. That's all I can say. Wow, I'm really looking forward to this. Cloak and Saber. McGregor is all cloaked up again as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's got places to go, like the new planet of Deo, which sort of has a Hong Kong feel to it, says writer Joby Harold. It's got a graffiti-ridden nightlife and is kind of edgy. It's just got a different lane and a different feeling. Although maybe my suggestion would be, when building planets and designing them, put a bit of escapism in them. Don't make them look like Hong Kong. Hong Kong's lovely. Bit of ethnicity there, it's great, don't get me wrong. But you know, this is about escapism. So that's the scoop on that. So this is very, very interesting. I like the fact that Obi-Wan's going to be a bit emotionally bruised and battered in this. Look, this is a very exciting project for all Star Wars fans. And we've been here before, haven't we? Now, what's interesting to me as we expand this conversation, and we may actually get a trailer in a mere hour's time at this Disney shareholders convention, but I want to expand the conversation to Disney Star Wars. Considering they rejected George Lucas's 7, 8 and 9, his sequel trilogy, wouldn't it have been a better idea to do films back then instead of doing their own 7, 8 and 9? Because they didn't have the intellect or imagination to do it. You don't do George Lucas's 7, 8 and 9. Why do any 7, 8 and 9? Doesn't make sense, does it? And they did it, and they messed it up. But what they could have done was, and I understand why they rejected George, because George wasn't very popular with a lot of Star Wars diehards because of the prequels. I love the prequels. The prequels are great, but unfortunately, the popular opinion was anti-George Lucas. So I understand that Disney and Lucasfilm were very, very nervous. But if you reject George Lucas and his 7, 8, and 9, what you should do when you bring it back is create new worlds, new stories, new characters. Just move away from the Skywalker saga if you've rejected the man who's got a vision for the Skywalker saga, who you promised, you would adapt these stories and you didn't. At least do something original if you don't want to do a sequel trilogy by the godfather of Star Wars. And they didn't do this. And what's even more astonishing here is when they did the Star Wars story, they still stay within the realms of the Skywalker saga. Solo, then Rogue One. Basically, kind of prequels to the Skywalker saga. They didn't have the confidence to stray away and do something original and creative. And this was the whole problem. As I say, if you don't do George's 7, 8, and 9, you've got to keep the premise of what George created, but you can create a new story, new heroes, new heroines, and do something interesting and new. And hopefully, who is the four-angle director? Taika Waititi, that's it. Sorry, Taika. But yeah, hopefully his film, ain't the one Kevin Feige's doing, if they're not the same one, are about new worlds, new characters. And we can finally move away from the Skywalker saga. It's been done. You've done a sequel trilogy now. It didn't work out. They all made pretty much $1 billion each, apart from The Force Awakens that made $2 billion, right? You made that mistake. Don't make that mistake again. But they are here. Because as excited as I am for Kenobi, and it is brilliant because now I can watch the prequels, eventually Kenobi, and then, Star Wars A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, A Return of the Jedi, with this new episode stuck in the middle. It's great. It's the missing piece in a way. But I do worry. And ultimately, as I said, as excited as I am for this, they're never going to do anything new. The Mandalorian, I think, is just after Return of the Jedi. At least it's not set in the premise of the Skywalker saga. It's after the Skywalker saga. And at least kind of the Mandalorian is kind of a new character. But then we went back to Boba Fett. But then they're kind of focusing on, Ahsoka, which is great. So they're kind of moving away a little bit on Disney Plus, away from the Skywalker saga, which is a good idea. But here, we're being dragged back to Kenobi. The problem here is I don't even think George is a consultant here. And I am a bit worried about this show, but I'm also excited. So I'm split down the middle. But if it was me, and if I was in charge of Lucasfilm and Disney, and I rejected it, and if I was stupid enough to reject George Lucas's 7, 8, and 9, I would have started from scratch, created new worlds, moved many, many light years away from what George did and have it as a legend in history and create new stories and new villains, and it would be more interesting to the audience. Because until Star Wars does this, we're never going to have the successful franchise that George did, because what George did was original. But because these people are cheats and they're creatively bankrupt, they will not do this. And there lies the problem. Then you've got Kathleen Kennedy's leadership. Now, I've heard so many people talk about Kathleen getting fired. I think she's just signed another contract. Listen, it's clear that George made sure that she keeps her job as long as he wants her to. I think George has some kind of authority with this situation. I think she's so ingrained now, so difficult to get rid of. And there lies the problem, because they do want rid of her, but Disney can't. And this is the problem. So basically, I am hyped for Kenobi. I don't want people to misunderstand me, but I think it's time to move away from the Skywalker saga. But to do that, you have to have ideas and you have to have an imagination. And unfortunately, the people who have got a stranglehold on the entertainment industry don't have an imagination. This has been Movies TV Mad. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Like, share, comment, subscribe. hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And I'll see you again tonight in my live, where hopefully we can talk about the new Kenobi trailer. Until then, here's hoping. Goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.